The key element here is the gold mineral. The country is the largest net exporter of gold after the US. She is one of the largest exhibitors of the mineral at prestigious international trade fairs. The merger between Ghana's Ashanti Gold Fields Company and AngloGold South Africa makes that business entity the second largest mining company in the world. The visit to South Africa in April 2005 by Ghana's King of Ashanti, the Asante Otumfuo Tutu, was occasioned by an invitation by AngloGold Ashanti among others. The top officials of the company, led by its president Dr. Sam Jonah of Ghana and the executive director Mr. Bobby Goldberg, met the Asante in Johannesburg, where they underscored the importance of his visit. As the traditional ruler in whose kingdom Ashanti Gold Fields lie, Otumfuo Tutu has a special interest in the merger between AngloGold South Africa and Ashanti Gold Fields Company. Dr. Sam Jonah said, the success of the merger speaks volumes for joint ventures in business, saying that his guests from the Asanteman Council, that also includes the Dwabin Hene Nana Otu Serebo and the Sokore Hene Nana Susubiri B. Krobi Asante, have shown the way that traditional rulers can be effective focal points for resource mobilization and development.
Your Excellency, I think that in light-hearted moment, let me just say that we presumptuously agreed with the team that you will be visiting one of the deepest and most modern mines here. And when the message, I understand, got to the palace very quickly, using the most efficient, the most modern means of communication, immediately came back with a tersely worded diplomatic statement that getting the King of Ashanti in a cage underground is the equivalent of an entombment. So, Your Majesty, I would like to apologize most sincerely for even the thought, perish the thought, of getting you into a cage underground. So we have re-engineered ourselves, and hopefully you would enjoy this very modest visit to one of our very proud mines in the group. The visit, Your Excellency, Your Majesty, is meant to showcase the AngloGold Ashanti Group. At the same time, it's meant to give you insights into what South Africa, as a country, which is a major trading partner of Ghana, offers and can offer. And we hope that you will, no doubt, avail yourself of the opportunities that will be presented at the various meetings which we are organizing for you to have interactions with the business community.
The Asante Hene, on his part, said he's championing the cause of the people to alleviate poverty as well as help them to realize their full potentials.
Why should the occupant of the golden stool of my ancestors be flying into the corporate environment of South Africa at such a time? Before I could answer my own question, another popped up to form the third strand. How come that the Ashanti name is now so highly celebrated in the South African context?
Sure.
I'm sure that most of you are aware of the close affinity the Asante Kingdom has established with gold over the past several centuries.
Sure.
Hence, historically, the production and the use of the commodity has been of great interest to my people. To me, therefore, the idea of such a visit to Johannesburg, the famed city of gold, was very justifiable. Today, I could not be in a more stimulating environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I must now reveal that well before Bobby called on me at the Manshia Palace in the run-up to the merger, I had summoned independent business advisors who had briefed me fully about the importance of the proposal. I had also deliberated on the proposal with others on the Asante Council, for I had an inherent interest as the overall custodian of all the lands in Asante, including, of course, Obuasi area. Other measures were taken to ensure that Asante could remain comfortable with the strange notion of Ashanti gold fields, the time-tested pride of Asante going into foreign hands. The considerable African credentials and other attributes that some, who is affectionately referred to as Sikera, or veritable owner of gold, by no less a personality than my own mother, who also happens to be the Queen Mother of Asante, subsequently articulated in his inimitable manner, enabled me to support the African mega merger. The rest is hopefully history in the making. And on this one, I had a series of meetings with Uncle Kwame to advise me on the way forward. These and other steps were taken to guarantee for all time that production of gold in the Asante Kingdom by a company which had proudly put the glitter in Ghanaian gold mining under the anglicized name of Asante Mine would continue to do so on a more global and loftier stage. As part of my personal commitment to the cause which unites Asante Mine and the AngloGold Ashanti, recently I decided to travel to the Obuasi mine in order to motivate the management and workers when I received disturbing reports from the production front. I deemed this to be so important that I asked for the postponement of my South African trip visit till today, for I do not believe in unmeaningful gestures when vital issues of corporate importance are swept aside at a time when Africa is threatened with near certain marginalization. I understand that the hope is for a turnaround in Obuasi to be effected in a number of quarters. And I just asked the finance director whether there's some more money going to Obuasi, and he assures me that yes. May that hope be achieved sooner than later. I also trust that the publicized deep pockets down here and the expertise needed to assess the geological tantalizing Obuasi deeps are also well in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, with the foregoing, I need not overemphasize the importance of AngloGold Ashanti to the Asante Kingdom.
The Imponeng minefield is one of the country's secrets in gold mineral. Solid infrastructure, machinery, skilled labor force, and good health care for workers are some of the factors that place Imponeng mines ahead in the gold industry. It has heavy installations and the state-of-the-art equipment to undertake exploratory activities. Gold is said to be doing well on the world market, even though competition is high.
Outside of South Africa, in countries whose economy is dollar denominated, with a gold price of around $430 an ounce and production costs of less than $250 an ounce, it presents them with quite a respectable margin, meaning that the industry globally is relatively profitable. However, many of the gold-producing countries of the world are in strong local currency economies at the moment. Margins are being squeezed by strong local currencies, and we in AngloGold Ashanti are fortunate in that we have mines in a wide range of countries. However, the challenge arises from the fact that in several of those, Australia, Brazil, Argentina, and South Africa, the margins in those mines are under pressure from strong currencies. The challenge that we face is, which Johan has been referring to, is maintaining cost management. To keep your costs at a respectable level in the face of strong currency.
AngloGold Ashanti has an elaborate healthcare system. Its ultra-modern hospital takes care of company workers and their facilities, as well as the general public. The occupational and mine injury ward has shot up as the busiest because of work-related hazards. Reports say 67% of cases among workers are trauma-related. Brian Chickson is the medical director of AngloGold Ashanti. Dr. Chickson says, among other things, that workers found to be HIV positive are not relieved of their jobs, and the company is proactive in the war against the pandemic. South Africa has one of the highest incidents of HIV/AIDS in Africa. This place is the new operational room for some workers who were affected by a mine disaster at Mponeng. They now prepare a kind of safety material to minimize the impact of mining disasters. Minakagbo Dintlokotsi from Botswana, who got handicapped in the course of duty, works here. The engineering manager of Mponeng Mine, Peter Gesa, briefed the Asante Otumfuo Tutu and his entourage about other areas of interest.
When I bedroom a mamon sorry, we my friend no. And I said to Katachi, Gumbreblo, Gumbre, and a Gumbre, and I watch about your way, Gumbre, and a yeah, dear friend, no, not to your beba. Yeah, dear to Papa, man, and not to your beba. We are sending here to pray. When I bedroom, Mamma.
Touchdown in Cape Town. 3 minutes before hitting the tarmac, you probably got an aerial glimpse of mountain ridges and green vineyard patches. It's the Cape Wineland signal that good wine isn't far away. At the apex of the country's advancement is this legislative capital, described as the world's 10th most beautiful city. To be lucky enough to see that magnificent Table Mountain is a precious gift indeed. The earliest known name of the mountain is Hori Kwako.
Yeah, dear friend, na to your beba. Yeah, dear to papa man na to your beba. We are sending it here to pray. When your bedroom and my mom sorry, we my friend, our friend, no. And I watch it, I say, yeah, boom, bra, bro. Boom, bra, nane, boom, bra, watch it, Yaginawa, nane, Yadiano, Asante, Yadiano,
Whether your taste is for fine traditional pieces or bold new avant designs, gold can be shaped to your desires in South Africa. Oro Africa Jewelry Company, based in Cape Town, has carved a niche for itself in the gold industry. Today, Oro Africa is the largest jewelry distributor in South Africa and also the largest exporter. Oro's export destinations include the US, UK, New Zealand and Mauritius. The company also exhibits at Italy's premier trade show in Vicenza 3 times a year. AngloGold Ashanti, one of the largest gold mining companies in the world, has a 25% stake in Oro Africa. The Asante, the king of Ashanti, Ghana's land of gold, was at Oro Africa to see things for himself. Otumfuo's delegation and the management of Oro Africa engaged in extensive discussions aimed at finding ways of collaboration. They were received by Messrs. Gary and Stephen Nathan, the 2 brothers managing the company. The 2 sides agreed in principle about a form of exchange program under which students of the jewelry department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology (NUST) will barter their labor for skill training during practical attachment course with Oro Africa. A member of the Asante entourage, Dr. Donkofojo, who is also an investment consultant, said South Africa has comparative advantage in the gold industry, and this must play out to the benefit of all others in business with them.
I think I'm very impressed. To be quite honest, you wouldn't have believed their turnover in a year is $60 million. I just asked them. And all that they are doing is producing 14 karat, 9 karat and 18 karat gold, and sometimes white gold. Now I think for me, what I would like to do is to get Ashanti AngloGold to bring in some of our artisans over here, for them to learn the skill and impart it to us in Ghana. Because if we were in India, for instance, we could very well set up a cottage industry, and this will reduce the number of our children selling dog chains. Rather than sell dog chains, they could in fact be working on making, chains, which is of high value. They haven't spent too much. In fact, the man was telling us an Italian company has just folded up and they're buying it. They're doing it because everything they're doing depends on skill. And that is what I recommend, to our country.
I think it takes many things to make you competitive in this business. One is the correct financial structure and availability of gold and finance in order to finance customers and to finance the pipeline. 2 is skilled laborers, skilled and knowledgeable workforce. 3, knowledge of the markets, understanding what the customers want. 4, having technology and a safe and secure environment to produce. I think Oro Africa's got all of those things. And today we're the 3rd biggest factory supplier outside of the United States that supplies gold chain into the United States. So it must say that we're doing something right. It's a very tough business, and we're aware of that. We're committed and passionate to it. So I think we can be competitive. And
you say, you say, you say, you say. Yeah, you say, you say, you say, you say. Jediam bonyamye, yasra usebo, you say. Yeah, jediam bonyamye, yasra usebo, you say. Jedia to jedo. Asasa suma fata krochi amansa babla fona yewo amampinie nase tutu anama preno ebrade nie bebose yose.
Gold resonates with riches, priceless beauty, desirability, and success. Gold jewelry is now available in such a broad range of styles here that it has become accessible to everyone. The Gold of Africa Museum, located in the historic Martin Milk House in Cape Town, was built in 1783. It was established by AngloGold Ashanti as part of his program to preserve the artistry of African gold smithing and to inspire modern gold design. The museum contains the world's renowned collection of West African gold artifacts, originally from the Barbier Muela Museum in Geneva, as well as artifacts from the ancient gold civilizations of Southern Africa. A traditional sandal known locally as a hinima, worn by a past Asante Hene, Nana Ajimai Prempe, was found at the Africa Gold Museum. The visiting delegation was briefed by Mr. Kelvin Williams, the Executive Director of Marketing at AngloGold Ashanti, before they were taken through a guided tour of the museum. In the Akan Royal Courts of West Africa, regal artifacts are used to legitimize royal authority. A dazzling array of artifacts, forged, beaten, and leaved in gold, are created by goldsmiths and artisans under the patronage of powerful chiefs and kings. Craftsmen are inspired by Akan languages that are metaphorically rich, colorful, subtle, and suggestive. The imagery of these languages is evident in the thousands of motifs found in the arts of the Akan, particularly the people of Ashanti in Ghana. Each motif has one or more meanings and associated proverbs usually describing the power and majesty of the king. The symbolic meaning of the king holding an egg is that authority must be exercised with care. The Sankofa bird with its head turned backwards symbolizes the proverb, "Pick it up if it falls behind you," meaning learn from the past. When the mudfish swallows something, it does so for its master, the master being the crocodile with which it lives in close association. The word picture meaning is that the chief benefits from the success of his subjects. Visitors to the museum can see local goldsmiths using South African gold to design, prototype, and manufacture exquisite pieces of jewelry, some of which are later sold. Still in Cape Town, the delegation was at the South African Parliament to confer with the leadership of the House. They were received by the chairman of the National Council of Provinces, considered the upper chamber, and the woman speaker of the House. The symbol of the Parliament is a rod cast in gold, with the head normally tilted towards the majority end of the House and the smaller side pointing at where the minority are seated. The location of the Parliamentary building was informed by an interesting historical backdrop. A group of people of Indian descent who shipwrecked on their way to trade in spices were believed to have taken refuge here. The group later discussed politics. The portrait of AngloGold Ashanti's president, Ghana's Dr. Sam Jonah, is one of the monumental images posted on the walls of the South African Parliamentary building. The Asante Hene also paid a courtesy call on the South African National House of Traditional Leaders, NHTL, in Pretoria, one of the institutions which occasioned his visit. The Legislative Act establishing National House of Traditional Leaders stipulates the terms and objectives of the NHTL. This includes the promotion of the role of traditional leadership within a constitutional dispensation, as well as enhancing the unity and understanding among traditional communities. Otumfuo Tutu's position on traditional rule in contemporary political governance is well known. He had advocated at several international fora about the need for a coexistence between traditional systems and the modern state apparatus. For the 16th occupant of the Golden Stool of Ashanti in Ghana, it is only when chiefs are fully incorporated in political administrations that the art of governance can be said to have captured the totality of human beliefs and concerns. His thought-provoking speech was heralded by an impressive footnote by the Dwabinhene Nana Otu Serebo.
Before the Otumfuo speaks in public, a few words are said about him, so as to enable those around to appreciate his real position within the context of Ghana and chieftaincy in Africa. And I have the singular honor and pleasure to perform that duty on this occasion. Before I introduce him, however, it may be instructive to set it in a historical perspective by saying a few words about the kingdom of Asante before coming on to the specifics of the person who is the current Otumfuo, 17th century by King Osei I. King Osei believed in the dictum that in unity is strength, just as you believe, Chairperson. And King Osei used his best endeavors and most persevering efforts to ensure that the other four chiefdoms surrendered their independence and sovereignty to come together to form a union to ensure the progress and long-term survival. Otumfuo's the first efforts were, however, seen by others from myopic perspective. They felt that he had got the chiefdoms together with a view to prosecuting a war, and therefore uncharitably described the union in fee as a sa-uti. In other words, for the sake of war. So, in time, this Asante got corrupted into Asante, and the British did not do better by calling it Ashanti. So, the efforts of Otumfuo, as I said, was seen from this perspective. That's notwithstanding, the union thrived. And on the day that the union was to be outlawed, King Osei the first invited his spiritual advisor and traditional priests. We had priests to invoke a blessing of Nyankopon, which is the key concept of God, Nyankopon, on the fortunes of the new union. In fact, it was King Osei's intention that the foundations of the union should derive from God himself and nobody else. And legend has it that on the day that the king's priest and spiritual advisor was praying, a prayer which lasted long, with a lot of dance, with a lot of ceremony, with a lot of ululations and other things. At the tail end of it, the whole atmosphere was enveloped in a dark cloud, from whence the golden stool came down from the heavens and landed on the lap of King Osei. The traditional priest, Komfanochi, then interpreted this as the soul of the union and the symbol of unity of the Ashanti. Therefore, gold and Ashanti have been synonymous since the time of the founding of the union. The union grew in strength through alliances, amalgamations, and wars of conquest, to the extent that at the turn of the 18th century, the Asante Union occupied a territory, a land area, bigger than present-day Ghana. It extended to the Ivory Coast, to Togo, and even to Burkina Faso. The King's Court became a veritable hub of activity, with ambassadors coming from all over the world to exchange treaties for trade, for commerce, and what have you. Similarly, the King also sent ambassadors to European countries like Denmark, to Holland, and other areas with a view to representing the interests of Asante in those capitals. Surely, an elaborate administrative machinery was put in place to prosecute the affairs of state. And two European visitors to the King's Court in the 18th century could not help but commend it to their government staff, and referring specifically to the visit to Kumasi of Bowditch and the Queen. However, the fortunes of the Union were threatened by what was happening around Africa at that time, with the Europeans scramble for Africa, with the French going in for Belgium, the Belgians, carving Congo for themselves for King, the French coming into Ivory Coast and Togoland, and the British looking for colonies. And Asante was not spared the wrath of colonial interests and intrigues, to the extent that the British, who had settled on the coast of Ghana, engaged Ashanti in a whole lot of wars and were more victorious than vanquished. In fact, in one campaign, the British governor lost his life. And we could fight so far because imperial forces had come together to sort of sing the death knell in the kingdom, to the extent that finally in 1901, Britain annexed Ashanti to the crown by an order in council. Since then, our fortunes have been similar to yours. We have been a colonized country, but we were liberated in 1957. And throughout the time, the kingdom still prevailed.
Otumfuo Tutu spoke about the efforts he had made to alleviate poverty in Ghana.
What I consider as our right is for us as traditional leaders to hold firmly to the positive aspects of our cultural practices, values and ideals that advance the morals of our people and motivate the entrepreneurial spirit in our communities. As traditional leaders, we are closer to our people. We know their strengths and weaknesses. We are familiar with their toils and tribulations. We share our thoughts with them on a daily basis, and we make them understand their collective responsibility for the good of the community and for one another. In Ghana today, the institution of chieftaincy is not just given an entrenched status in the national constitution. Chiefs are expected to provide advice to central government and to participate in the administration of regions and districts. A chief, as custodian of the cultural practices of his people, is expected to take the initiative in facilitating programs that will bring improvement in health, education, and economic development of his community. And let me quickly state that programs facilitated by traditional leaders are meant only to supplement those provided by central and local government. Above all else, chiefs have become most active in dispute resolution across the country of Ghana and even beyond. As focal point of civil society, the institution of chieftaincy remains very relevant to the progress of any community. I believe that all of us here are faced with the grim realities of our underdevelopment on a regular basis. How, for example, do we respond to the Millennium Development Goals Declaration, which expects to reduce poverty by half by the year 2015? As traditional leaders, do we just sit by and expect only the politicians to bear the responsibility of reducing poverty? Do we just look on as our populations are decimated by HIV/AIDS and other preventable diseases? Which leads me to a role at the continental level. I am aware that the Economic, Social and Cultural Council of the African Union gives due recognition to organizations such as traditional leaders in the attainment of its objective. ECOSOC is expected, among other objectives, to support the political and socio-economic development and integration of the continent. This is a direct challenge to us all to mobilize our people, identify the conditions that degrade them, and together find solutions to the problems. We have resources on this continent. We have the men and the women who, given the opportunity, can turn around our fortunes as a continent. We have men and women in government and the private sector who I believe are sincere enough to want to form partnerships with us to improve conditions in our communities. Nkosi Nzemla, my brothers and colleagues, since I ascended the golden stool of the Asante in Ghana 6 years ago, my philosophy for development has been based on partnership with existing institutions to accelerate social and economic development. My attitude and that of my chiefs has been to consider ourselves as partners in development. We partner with local government bodies, with central government, with the private sector, and even with international donor agencies. In the first year of my reign, I challenged the World Bank to consider granting us support for our development projects in Ashanti. I'm proud to say that a 5 million grant provided Asante Man is currently assisting a number of traditional councils and communities in improving conditions in health, education, capacity building, and preservation of
Asante kotoko ma monsale. Monsami enko kumasi adu ampo French no Asante hina freye. Otumfuo se Tutu ampo nyina moa. Kotoko ino atikoko so na freye. Wo frefre ne ma de se. Binkum ni nifa wo hinie. Kontreni akwama ya hobo dada. Jasefo ami ahomre so amadon tiatene. We di Asante mae. Monsal wakama yenko. Yenko kumasi adu ampo French. Yenko kumasi adu ampo French damra yenu musubini. Usubini nchedi ne kumasi ni. Obe chojuro. Na sampe mbasa obe chojura. Obe chojura di jura Asante man. Usumru be mano homleso.
President Thabo Mbeki delayed his flight to Indonesia, where the second Afro-Asian Summit took place, to meet with Otumfuo Tutu at his official residence in Pretoria. President Mbeki and Otumfuo Tutu have come to represent the political and traditional strands of diplomacy. Since taking over from Nelson Mandela in post-apartheid South Africa, President Mbeki has keenly pursued a path of conflict resolution in Africa and elsewhere in the continent. He has particularly led peace talks on strife-torn areas on the continent, as Côte d'Ivoire, the Great Lakes region where DR Congo is a major player, and Mugabe-led Zimbabwe. On his part, Otumfuo Tutu has become a centripetal unifying force in Ghana. President Mbeki commended him for mediating in the Dagbang crisis in the north of Ghana and speaking about peace on the African continent.
Obe jane kramo shilamani moyedu. We di Asante mae. Ene di yate dene. Yen fonse bone yon tuanse kotoko hini se. Otumfuo se tu nyankasi ya bebi ewe. Yedo asio. Yedo ase do ase ahine wa. Asante mate dene. Obe chojuro. Na sampe mbasa esu obe chojura. Obe chojura di jojura Asante mae. Busumunu be mano homreso. Obe jane krabo shilamani moyedu. with the Asante Mae. And a day at the Yan for Sebon and young to us a cotoko and say, Otumfuo say to young Cassia baby away. Yedo Asio, anyway.
The Asante Hene also visited Madiba Nelson Mandela, who had also invited him to South Africa. Nelson Mandela, who is an icon of global statesmanship and peace, became South Africa's first black president in 1994 after his 27-year incarceration on the Robben Island by the then white minority rulers. Madiba's tenacity, courage and determination in the face of persecution has come to symbolize the ideals of democracy and civilized rule. That global celebrities find an uncommon satisfaction in meeting with the old man even makes him a super celebrity, some say. Nanoto's Rebo read the citation that accompanied the honor.
Your resistant spirit, unparalleled in contemporary, led you to fight vigorously against the evil apartheid system. You consistently refused to compromise your mission to obtain freedom. Even after your release from prison, your struggle to ensure justice and equal rights for all continued wherever you found yourself.
What do you ladies think about Mandela? Legendary Mandela?
I would love to meet him. I think that he has brought us very far, and I would just love to meet him. That's all I can say.
Nelson Mandela, you know, in itself is a legend, like you said, legendary Nelson Mandela. He is a very good man. Since 1994, you know, things have changed in South Africa, in Cape Town especially. We have Robben Island in the distance. When you go to the waterfront, you can see Robben Island. That's where Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. He's a very good man.
In my village, the first church that was ever built in Ashanti, sometime in the 1600s. 1600s? Yes, it's within my town. It is called the Osei Tutu Nyamekesie. Nyamekesie literally means the bigger God. And as a matter of fact, we call it the sky god. Nyamekesie or Osro. A lot of people don't know about this. And this project is going to bring out that church for people to know that even during the Osei Tutu's time, the Ashantis knew about God. I am happy that this project is happening. If the project becomes very successful, you can replicate or duplicate somewhere else, either in Bro-Afo, in the northern region or in the Baltic region, to see that Otumfuo's vision is running across the country.
Osei Lorio Molotlegi is the ruler of the Royal Bafokeng Kingdom of South Africa. His platinum-rich kingdom is regarded as the wealthiest in Africa. King Osei Lorio Molotlegi and his family were among the blacks who were driven from their ethnic homelands during the apartheid era. They returned from exile after the struggle against white minority rule succeeded in ushering democratic rule in South Africa 11 years ago. The king has his mother as the queen of the kingdom, while his two elder brothers, who were all heir apparent to the Bafokeng throne, have all passed away. The totem of the kingdom is the crocodile. The maternal queen had extended an invitation to Otumfuo Tutu to visit the kingdom after she had attended their Daikesi festival in Kumasi 2 years ago. The Asante Hene was a guest of honor at a special sitting of the Supreme Council of the Bafokeng Kingdom. The council is made up of senior traditional representatives of constituents of the Bafokeng Kingdom. In a welcome address, His Royal Highness Osei Lorio Molotlegi expressed gratitude to the Asante Hene and the people of Ashanti for opening up to greater cooperation between their kingdoms. The king of the Bafokeng has built an Olympic-class stadium, earmarked as one of the venues for the 2010 World Cup, to be hosted by South Africa. Sun City in the platinum-rich Bafokeng province is a class of its own. Described as the 8th wonder in the world, Sun City is cast in an undulating landscape marked with splendid artificials. It includes those artificial water. The main edifice, which was built by an Israeli architect, was the venue of a recent Miss World contest. Tourists who pour into Sun City are soon to discover that the name of the place has nothing to do with sunbeam or warm weather conditions. The massive sunflower plantation in the Bafokeng province is largely responsible for the title Sun City. For 300 years, the weaving of kente, the rich multicolored national cloth of Ghana, has been the preserve of men. In the village of Bongre, 15 miles from the Asante regional capital of Kumasi, the majestic cloth was woven only by men because it was believed that the brain power needed for the design and the labor involved were beyond a woman's capabilities. Adages were also created to frighten women. For example, according to one saying, any woman who attempts to weave kente will die of a strange and painful death or become barren forever. To pave the way, the traditional authorities were finally persuaded and poured a libation to ask their ancestors' permission to allow their daughters to join in the trade, which they had bequeathed to the town, until Ghana's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, appeared at the United Nations in 1957. Dressed in a splendid multicolored kente, the cloth was relatively unknown. The Ghanaian community in South Africa was not to be left out of the Asante schedule. On the penultimate day of his visit, His Majesty met with a cross-section of his countrymen and women living in the country to share experiences. South Africa is a first-class society. At the G8 summit at Gleneagles, Scotland, on July 5, 2005, South Africa was named as one of the emerging large economies on the same wavelength as China, India, Mexico, and Brazil. The Ghanaians living in South Africa say unskilled labor has little or no place in this economy. It is a society for high-level professionals as medical doctors, pharmacists, chartered accountants, lawyers, architects, and engineers, among others. The Ghanaians doffed their hats for South Africa, calling it a nation of immense natural and human endowment, and that which is committed to national heritage and non-partisan approach to development.
And you have seen how amazing this country is. In terms of the extractive industry, minerals and so forth, they are endowed. They come very close to America as the largest gold exporting country, in diamonds, in platinum and so forth. This is a country that's endowed. Now, that is where their forte is, the extractive mineral. But over the years they've diversified, and the services industry is doing so well, and energy is also doing extremely well. I must say that tourism we are doing well in tourism, but I think there's a lot we can learn from them. Last year alone, they made about 50 billion rand from tourism. Now, when I talk of 50 billion rand, I'm talking of nearly $8 billion. Now, that is more than or nearly about what we get our GDP, Ghana's GDP. That is the total goods and services that we export. That's what we get, and that's what they just get in tourism. And so the question is, what can we do?
The welfare of the people is my priority more than the welfare of the people is more my priority than having the titles that people talk about. And the politics of it, of the Asante being this and that during Kufuor's time, is also something that makes me amused. Because the Asante has been there all along before Kufuor became the president. And visitors have been streaming to Menchia even before Kufuor became the president. But then it becomes an issue in Ghana now. Why? No one knows. Because people tend to be petty. Because Kufuor is the president. But I was the Asante here before Kufuor became the president anyway. And I wonder why it should be created because Kufuor is an Asante and therefore that is what it is. But I was there with Rollins and I was advising him, I was cautioning him. And I still do that with him. I talk to him often now and then. So the issue here is, my heart is in the development of Ghana. We want the country to move on. That is why I travel all around seeking for investments.
Osei, Otumfuo, Osei, the Asante Roundtable is acting with the dinner hosted by Dr. Sanjona of AngloGold Ashanti. Present at the function were top business executives and diplomats. Otumfuo left South Africa perhaps with one indelible mark on his mind. Ghana has something to learn from South Africa's example in terms of development. That the Ghanaian resident in Lesotho invited Asante to visit that country, and the government of neighboring Namibia also expressing interest in hosting him, summarizes the impact of his visit.
It's here, yeah, Martin. Yes, that's also a business.
Yes,